Why your creatine isn't working. Most people miss this. You bought the creatine, you started taking it every day, you expected bigger muscles, better workouts, and more energy, but after a few weeks, it felt like absolutely nothing changed. Sound familiar? You're definitely not alone. Here's the surprising truth. Most people who think creatine doesn't work usually aren't failing because of the supplement itself. More often, they're making one or two simple mistakes without even realizing it. And the frustrating part? These mistakes can quietly cancel out the benefits before creatine even gets a real chance to work. Maybe it's inconsistent use, maybe it's unrealistic expectations, and maybe it's poor hydration, low protein intake, or simply expecting instant results from something that works gradually over time. Whatever the case, small habits make a much bigger difference than most people realize. Today, we're breaking down the biggest reasons your creatine might not be working and how to fix them so you can actually start seeing the results you expected in the first place. And trust me, number 6 is something almost nobody talks about. But before we begin, drop your name and the city you're watching from in the comments below. All right, let's get started. Number 1, you're expecting instant results. Have you ever started taking a supplement and expected to feel completely different within a day or two? Maybe more energy, instant strength, or some dramatic change right away. That's actually one of the biggest misunderstandings people have about creatine. Unlike caffeine, creatine doesn't hit you with an immediate rush or sudden burst of energy. You're probably not going to feel it working overnight. Instead, creatine works quietly in the background by gradually building up inside your muscles over time, and that process takes consistency and patience. For many people, the noticeable benefits don't really start showing up until after a few weeks of regular use. At first, the changes can be so subtle that they're easy to miss. Maybe you recover a little faster between workouts, maybe your last few reps feel slightly stronger, and maybe you don't feel quite as drained afterward. Small improvements like that tend to build gradually instead of all at once. And honestly, that's where a lot of people get frustrated. Because the progress isn't dramatic immediately, they assume the creatine isn't working and stop taking it too soon. But the reality is, they often quit right before the benefits would have started becoming more noticeable. The funny thing is, creatine usually works best for people who stop chasing instant results and focus on consistency instead. A small daily habit repeated over time tends to produce much bigger results than expecting some overnight transformation. So if you're using creatine, remember this. It's not about feeling different tomorrow. It's about gradually becoming stronger, recovering better, and performing more consistently over the weeks and months ahead. Number 2. You're not taking it consistently. Here's something a surprising number of people get wrong about creatine. It's not about taking huge amounts whenever you remember, or only using it right before a workout. Creatine is much less about intensity and much more about consistency. A lot of people take it for a few days, forget about it for a week, then suddenly start again before going to the gym. Others treat it like a pre-workout supplement, thinking they only need it on training days. But that's not really how creatine works. Creatine works by gradually building up inside your muscles over time. Your muscles need time to become fully saturated, and that only happens when you take it consistently, day after day. That's why most experts recommend around 3 to 5 grams every single day, not just when you feel motivated or when you're about to work out. And honestly, this is where a lot of people accidentally sabotage their results. They focus on timing tricks, complicated schedules, or aggressive loading phases while ignoring the one thing that actually matters most: regular, daily use. The good news is that creatine doesn't need to be complicated. You don't have to obsess over the perfect timing or stress about taking it at exactly the right moment. A simple, steady routine is usually more effective than all the fancy strategies people argue about online. Think of it like brushing your teeth or taking vitamins. It works best when it becomes a small daily habit instead of something random and inconsistent. Over time, those consistent habits are what allow creatine to fully support strength, recovery, and performance. So if your creatine doesn't seem to be working, the problem might not be the supplement at all. It might simply be that your muscles never had a chance to fully build up and maintain the levels needed to see real results. Number 3, you're not drinking enough water. Could dehydration secretly be ruining your creatine results? Honestly, yes, it absolutely can, and it's one of the most common mistakes people make without even realizing it. Here's what's happening behind the scenes. Creatine works partly by pulling water into your muscle cells, which helps support strength, performance, recovery, and that fuller muscle appearance many people notice. That extra hydration inside the muscles is actually part of what makes creatine effective. But there's a catch. Your body still needs enough overall fluids to support the process properly. If you're not drinking enough water, your body may struggle to respond well to creatine. And that's when people often start noticing problems like bloating, headaches, fatigue, muscle tightness, or just feeling sluggish overall. The surprising part is that many people blame creatine itself, when the real issue is simply poor hydration. And honestly, this becomes even more important as we get older. A lot of adults already walk around slightly dehydrated during the day without realizing it. Busy schedules, coffee, not drinking enough water, it adds up fast. Then, creatine enters the picture. Your muscles start demanding more fluids, and suddenly, those hydration issues become much more noticeable. The good news is that this is usually an easy fix. In many cases, simply increasing your water intake can completely change the experience. People who felt bloated or tired on creatine often feel much better once they consistently hydrate properly. What makes this mistake tricky is how simple it sounds. Most people focus on finding the best creatine, the perfect timing, or advanced supplement strategies, while overlooking the most basic thing their body actually needs: enough water. So, if your creatine doesn't seem to be working, or if it's making you feel off, don't ignore hydration. Sometimes the difference between feeling worse and feeling stronger comes down to something as simple as drinking more fluids throughout the day. Number 4. Your workouts aren't challenging enough. This one surprises people all the time. A lot of people take creatine expecting it to automatically build muscle, increase strength, and transform their workouts, even if their exercise routine barely changes. But here's the reality. Creatine can support performance, but it still needs something to actually work with. Think of creatine like a performance enhancer for effort you're already putting in. It helps support high-intensity exercise, recovery, and muscle energy production. But if your workouts never truly challenge your muscles, you probably won't notice much of a difference. In other words, creatine doesn't replace movement, it supports it. If you're doing resistance training, gradually pushing yourself, and staying consistent, creatine can help you squeeze out extra reps, recover a bit faster, and perform better over time. Those small improvements add up and can lead to noticeable progress. But if your body never gets a reason to adapt, there's very little for creatine to actually enhance. And honestly, this is where many people get disappointed. They take the supplement faithfully, but don't consistently challenge their muscles through exercise. Then they wonder why the results seem underwhelming. It's a little like upgrading the engine in a car that never leaves the driveway. The potential is there, but it's not being fully used. The good news is that you don't need extreme workouts or intense gym sessions to benefit. Even moderate resistance training, bodyweight exercises, or consistent physical activity can create the kind of stimulus your muscles need. Creatine simply helps support the process. That's why the best results usually come from combining creatine with movement, not expecting the supplement to do all the heavy lifting on its own. So if creatine hasn't seemed effective for you, it may not be because the supplement doesn't work. It could simply be that your body needs a stronger reason to adapt, and that starts with consistent movement and progressive effort. Number 5. You're ignoring sleep and recovery. Want to know one of the most frustrating truths about fitness and recovery? Poor sleep can quietly cancel out a huge amount of your progress. A lot of people expect creatine to somehow overcome exhaustion, stress, and bad recovery habits, but unfortunately the body just doesn't work that way. Here's the reality. Muscles don't actually grow while you're training. They grow and repair during rest. Your energy systems recharge during sleep. Recovery hormones do their job while your body is resting. So if you're constantly sleep deprived, running on stress, or barely recovering between workouts, creatine can only help so much. That's why some people take creatine consistently but still feel stuck. The supplement may be doing its job, but the body never gets the recovery time it needs to fully benefit from it. It's kind of like trying to build a house while the foundation keeps crumbling underneath. The interesting part is that when people improve their sleep, creatine often suddenly seems much more effective. Workouts feel better, recovery improves, energy becomes more stable, and strength gains become more noticeable. Not because the creatine changed, but because the body finally had the chance to properly recover and adapt. So, if you really want better results, don't just focus on supplements. Pay attention to your sleep too, because sometimes the biggest upgrade for your performance, energy, and recovery isn't another scoop of creatine. It's finally giving your body the rest it's been missing. Number 6, you're eating too little protein. Here's the mistake almost nobody talks about when it comes to creatine. Creatine can help your muscles perform better, but protein is what actually provides the raw materials your body needs to repair and build muscle afterward. Without enough protein, creatine has very little to work with. A lot of people focus heavily on supplements while completely overlooking their nutrition. They buy the creatine, take it every day, and expect major changes, but their meals are inconsistent, protein intake is low, and recovery habits are poor. Then they end up wondering why their body isn't really changing. The truth is, creatine works best when it's supporting a strong foundation. That means enough protein, balanced meals, regular movement, and proper recovery. Creatine can help improve performance and recovery, but it can't magically create muscle out of nothing. Your body still needs the building blocks to repair and grow. Think of it this way. Creatine is support, not the entire solution. When good nutrition and consistent exercise are already in place, creatine can help amplify the results. But without that foundation, even the best supplement will struggle to make a noticeable difference. Number 7, you bought the wrong expectations from social media. Let's be honest for a second. Social media has completely changed what people expect from supplements. You scroll online and see influencers promising insane 30-day transformations, dramatic before and after photos, and captions that make creatine sound almost magical. It's easy to start thinking you're supposed to become stronger, leaner, and more energized overnight, but real-life results usually don't work that way. For most people, creatine leads to gradual improvements over time. Better strength, smoother recovery, improved endurance, and fuller-looking muscles. The changes are real, but they're often subtle at first and build steadily with consistency. The problem is that unrealistic expectations can make perfectly good progress feel disappointing. If you expect superhero-level changes in a few weeks, even meaningful improvements might seem not good enough. The truth is, creatine works best when you stop chasing hype and start focusing on steady progress instead. Because in real life, long-term consistency almost always beats quick transformations that only exist online. Number 8, you might actually be a non-responder. Now here's something a lot of people find surprising. Some people naturally respond to creatine less dramatically than others, and that doesn't mean creatine is fake or not working. In many cases, it simply means their muscles already store relatively high creatine levels naturally, especially if they regularly eat foods like meat or fish. So while one person might notice a huge jump in strength or muscle fullness, someone else may experience more subtle changes. That difference is completely normal. But here's the important part. Even so-called non-responders can still benefit from creatine in smaller ways. Some notice better recovery between workouts, more consistent training performance, or improved long-term muscle maintenance over time. The effects just may not feel as dramatic compared to someone starting with lower natural creatine stores. That's why comparing your results to other people online can be misleading. Everyone's body responds a little differently, and sometimes the benefits are happening quietly in the background, even if they're not immediately obvious in the mirror or on the scale. So, why isn't your creatine working? In most cases, it's not the supplement, it's the missing habits around it. Consistency, hydration, training, sleep, and nutrition all work together. Creatine is powerful, but it works best as part of a bigger system. What about you? Have you ever tried creatine and felt like nothing happened? Or did you notice a difference after fixing one of these mistakes? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stick around for more simple health and fitness breakdowns without the hype.